I saw the number on the screen, that dizzying, horrifying number, and my blood ran cold, turning every single comfortable room in my small apartment into a chamber of icy shock, and the only thought running through my head was, how could she? How could my own sister, the person I shared a childhood bedroom with, the one who knows my deepest, darkest financial fears, look me straight in the eye and casually swipe over $100,000 of my money, not from my bank account, no, but from my pristine, hard-earned credit score, a score I had guarded like a national treasure for the last 15 years. And when I confronted her, her response, the way her lips curled into that familiar, condescending smirk, the one she's used since we were kids fighting over the last cookie, it chills me to this day. My credit was bad, so I borrowed yours. It's not a crime if your family, big brother. Then my father, the man who taught me about honesty and integrity, just stood there and shrugged, actually shrugged, as if she'd just taken my last slice of pizza instead of shattering my financial future into a million uncollectible pieces. Tell me honestly, was I wrong for putting my phone on record, for uploading the irrefutable evidence of her crime, and watching the police raid her brand new, illegally purchased condo the very next morning? This story, the one that still keeps me up at night, the one that broke my family into irreparable shards, didn't start with a dramatic confrontation or a midnight call. It started quietly, innocently, like most acts of betrayal do. I'm an analyst, a meticulous, painfully organized person. My life runs on spreadsheets and timelines, and I take pride in the fact that, despite coming from a relatively modest background, I had managed to build myself a rock-solid financial foundation. I had zero debt, a hefty savings account, and a credit score that flirted perpetually with the perfect 850 mark, a score I saw not just as a number, but as a testament to my discipline and hard work. My sister Clara was the complete opposite. Where I was cautious, she was impulsive. Where I saved, she splurged. She was the queen of the high-end boutique haul, the last-minute tropical vacation, and the expensive apartment she could barely afford. But she was my sister, my only sibling, and despite our differences, I always felt that deep, primal bond. Whenever she called with a financial crisis, which was often, I'd bail her out. 1,000 here for rent, 500 there for a car repair. I always gave it as a gift, never a loan, because I knew, deep down, she'd never be able to pay me back, and I didn't want the tension of a debt hanging over our relationship. I thought those small sacrifices kept the peace, kept the family whole. About a year ago, Clara got this idea, this grand scheme, to quit her stable but boring marketing job and become an interior designer. It sounded like Clara, dreamy, expensive, and utterly impractical. I tried to gently talk her down, to suggest a slow transition, maybe taking classes on the side, but Clara always had this impenetrable belief in her own destiny, a kind of arrogant optimism that blinded her to risk. She needed a lot of money to start, she said, for materials for a showroom, for the kind of image a high-end designer needed. She pitched the idea to my parents first, who, being typical doting parents, especially Dad, were immediately on board, seeing their little girl chasing her dreams. They sunk a good portion of their retirement nest egg into her venture, an amount I thought was reckless, but I kept my mouth shut. Then came the big ask, the one that marked the real beginning of the end. Clara called me all sweetness and light and asked me to sign on a business loan. It was for a substantial amount, enough to make me sweat, but she assured me the business plan was sound. The projections were excellent, and I would just be a name on the paper. A formality because her credit was a little bumpy. I refused, flat out. I told her signing wasn't a formality. It meant I was legally liable for the entire debt if she failed. I couldn't risk my meticulously built stability, my future mortgage prospects on her untested business venture. She hung up on me, furious, and for weeks, the air between us was thick with unspoken resentment. The business, predictably, didn't boom. It sputtered, Clara had the eye for design, I'll give her that, but she had zero business acumen. She overspent on everything, chased clients who didn't pay, and lacked the discipline to manage her cash flow. My parents started to worry, whispering to me on the side about the money they'd put in. I felt a cold dread settle in my stomach, but I was also relieved that I had held firm on the co-sign. Then, about 6 months into her disaster of a design firm, she found a way around my refusal. It started with an innocuous email from my credit card company, an unusual activity alert. I thought nothing of it, a simple fraud flag, until I logged into my bank's app and saw the damage. It wasn't one of my 3 cards that had been maxed out. It was a brand, new line of credit, one I had absolutely no memory of opening, tied to my main bank. The limit was a whopping $75,000, and the balance was already at $73,500. I nearly threw up. I called the bank in a panic, ready to declare fraud, demanding to know how this could have happened. The customer service representative was polite but unyielding. They confirmed the application had been submitted online, yes, but it was approved because the application details, the security questions, and the identity verification were all spot on. They even had a scanned copy of my driver's license and social security card. They explained that someone had done a hard pull on my credit, used the information to get pre-approval, and then finalized the application using documents that looked completely authentic. The mailing address for the physical card had been changed just before the final transaction to a different location, a temporary mailbox rental service, and then switched back to my address after. The card was activated and the massive charge was made. The truth, the ugly, sickening truth, hit me like a physical blow when I remembered one night, about a month prior, when Clara had been over for dinner. She was complaining about her laptop being slow, and I, being the tech expert of the family, had let her borrow my high-powered desktop for a few hours to run some graphic design software. My sensitive files, my tax documents, my driver's license scan, my social security details, they were all in a folder on my desktop. Password. Protected, sure, but the password was a variation of Pet's name. She knew. She had taken a calculated risk, betting that I wouldn't check my credit score or my bank accounts every day, and she was right. She had used my computer, accessed my files, and in a single audacious night, had impersonated me to secure a massive line of credit, max it out, and use the money to pay for something only a crazy amount of money could buy. The down payment on a sleek, 2-bedroom condo in a highly desirable, trendy part of the city. The very same part of the city she'd been raving about moving to. That's where the money went. It wasn't just to float her business. It was for her ultimate lifestyle upgrade. I drove straight to my parents' house, the place that was supposed to be the sanctuary of our family, the place where truth mattered. Clara was already there, oddly calm, sitting on the sofa flipping through a magazine. I didn't yell, I couldn't. My voice was a shaky whisper of disbelief. I held up my phone, showing her the $73,000 charge, the name of the recipient company, which was conveniently a shell corporation she had set up to funnel the loan money in. Her condo purchase, and I just said, Clara, explain this. That's when the mask dropped. That's when the smugness took over. She sighed, dramatically, as if I were the one inconveniencing her. She set the magazine down slowly, and that's when she hit me with the line that has since become the financial nightmare soundtrack of my life. My credit was bad, so I borrowed yours. It's not crime if your family, big brother. She acted like she was doing me a favor, using my superior credit to secure the family's future. She actually claimed that if her business took off, my money would benefit too. When I pointed out that what she did was outright identity theft and bank fraud, a felony, she just shrugged, utterly unconcerned. And then my father walked in from the kitchen, overhearing the end of the argument, and he didn't take my side. Not for a second. I explained everything to him, showed him the evidence, the paper trail leading right to his daughter's name, and he looked at me, not with horror for her actions, but with annoyance for my Complaint, it's fine, son, he said dismissively. She's your sister. It's not a crime if you're family. You know she'll pay it back eventually, and your credit will bounce back. Don't make a big deal out of nothing. You're always so dramatic about money. His words didn't just hurt. They vaporized the entire foundation of my life. The belief that my parents valued honesty and fairness over blind favoritism. The two of them, my sister and my father, stood there in a united front, dismissing a 7-figure felony as a minor family squabble, a borrowing of sugar from a neighbor. My mother, bless her heart, was silent, pale, tears welling up in her eyes, but she didn't intervene, didn't challenge my father's ridiculous, enabling statement. In that moment, surrounded by the people who were supposed to love and protect me, I realized I was utterly alone. They were complicit in a crime, prioritizing their comfort and their daughter's reckless ambition over my security and my integrity. I walked out of that house a different person. The meticulous analyst in me, the one who planned everything, took over. I knew confronting them again would be useless. It would only result in denial, deflection, and more guilt, tripping about the meaning of family. I had to approach this like a criminal case, not a family drama. I went home and didn't sleep. I gathered every piece of evidence. The credit application, the bank statement, the shell company registration, the temporary mailbox address, and critically, the final transaction receipt linking the money directly to her condo's escrow account. And then there was the most damning piece of evidence of all, the 10-minute video I had secretly recorded of my sister's smirking admission and my father's enabling shrug, a video that perfectly captured the cold, calculated nature of the crime and the complicity of my family. I edited the video down to the most crucial 90 seconds. The full admission, the dollar amount, and the shocking dismissal by my father. I uploaded it to a private folder, titled cryptically, and then I contacted a lawyer, a sharp-ass attack woman I'd met through a business network, specializing in financial fraud. The lawyer was horrified, not just by the crime, but by the family's reaction. She confirmed what I already knew. This was a slam dunk case of identity theft, bank fraud, and misappropriation of funds. It was a serious felony, potentially carrying years in prison and a massive fine. She gave me two paths: the quiet path, which involved a cease and desist, a civil lawsuit to recover the debt, and a high probability of my family harassing me for the rest of my life, or the nuclear path, which involved taking the evidence to the local police department's economic crimes unit and letting the state handle the prosecution, leading to criminal charges and a criminal record. For Clara, the lawyer also warned me again that this would obliterate my relationship with my family forever. They would never forgive me. I told her I already knew. My family had obliterated their relationship with me the moment they chose $73,000 and a lie over my honesty and my future. So that's the situation I was in, the moment I stood at the precipice. I had the power to ruin my sister's life, to send her to prison, to get the police involved in a matter that my family wanted to keep secret. My entire financial future hung in the balance, a noose tied by my own sister's impulsiveness. But more than that, my integrity, my sense of justice, and my mental peace were on the line. I was staring at the undeniable fact that the people who raised me had taught me a terrible lesson. That family meant never having to face the consequences of your worst actions. I could still pull back, let the lawyer handle the civil suit, and spend the next decade fighting to pay off her debt and repair my credit score, or I could push the button. Before I tell you what happened next, what I ultimately decided, the final, irrevocable move I made, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have sacrificed your future for a terrible sister and enabling parents? Or would you have chosen justice, even if it meant destroying your family? Give me your honest answer right now. I went home from the lawyer's office with a heavy heart, but a clear mind. The civil path felt like a surrender, a tacit agreement to let them win. to let them continue to believe that what they did was not a big deal. I couldn't live like that. I couldn't look in the mirror knowing I had allowed a felony to go unpunished just to keep a fake, toxic peace. The quiet analyst in me wanted order, and the only way to restore order was through justice. I took the entire dossier of evidence, the financial documents, the paper trail, and yes, the recorded video, and I walked into the police station. The detective assigned the case, a gruff but sympathetic woman named Detective Reyes, looked through the evidence for less than an hour, watching the video 3 times, her face moving from grim concern to outright disbelief at my father's part in the exchange. She said plainly, "Mr. My last name, this is a textbook case of aggravated identity theft and wire fraud. We're opening a criminal investigation immediately. I promise you, this is not a family matter, this is a state matter. The wheels of justice, or maybe in this case, the wheels of a very angry, wronged brother, turned swiftly." The next morning, I woke up, and the first thing I did was refresh my local news feed. Nothing. Then I opened my phone and, taking a deep breath, I executed the plan I had laid out with the lawyer. I uploaded the 90-second video of Clara's confession and Dad's shrug to an anonymous, throwaway account on a popular social media platform. I didn't use their names, but I used enough context about the amount, the sister, the condo, and the location that anyone who knew them, friends, neighbors, former colleagues, would immediately know who it was. The caption was simple. When family doesn't mean blood, it means fraud. My sister's $73K loan and my dad's moral shrug. Then I sent an anonymous, untraceable tip to a local investigative reporter, linking to the video and including a cryptic hint about the newest, flashiest condo purchase in the trendy area name. I wanted the full public consequence, not just the legal one. I wanted their names to be synonymous with the crime. I was sitting in my living room, staring blankly at the TV, when my phone rang. It was my mother. Her voice was raw, choked with panic, and completely unrecognizable. "They're here, my name, the police. They're at Clara's apartment. What did you do?" She wasn't asking about the debt. She was asking why I had dared to bring consequences to their door. I told her the simple, honest truth. "I gave them the evidence, Mom. The same evidence you and Dad saw. I chose justice." She screamed a visceral, anguished sound about how I had ruined my sister's life, ruined the family, and that I was no son of hers. My father quickly took the phone, his voice a low, furious rumble. He didn't threaten. He just said icily, "You will never hear from us again. You are dead to us, you hear me, dead." And then he hung up. That was the last conversation I ever had with either of my parents. The local news quickly picked up the story, not just because of the police raid, but because of the viral video that had by now garnered hundreds of thousands of views and comments. A public shaming, unlike any I'd ever seen. The story wasn't just about the identity theft. It was about the shocking family enabling of a felony, and the public was furious. The news showed blurry footage of police cars surrounding Clara's condo building. She was arrested on the spot, utterly distraught, handcuffed in front of her new neighbors. Her newly purchased condo, which was already tied up with her shell company's questionable funds, was immediately frozen and seized as evidence in the fraud case. Her dream, the one she'd stolen my future to achieve, evaporated in a cloud of police tape and public outrage. The fallout was catastrophic. Clara was released on a massive bail amount, which my parents somehow scraped together, likely borrowing from friends, further cementing their complicity. Her design business was instantly finished. All her clients dropped her, and the public humiliation was total. The bank, seeing the irrefutable evidence of fraud and under pressure from the police, quickly zeroed out the $73,500 line of credit, restoring my credit score to its original, healthy state. The debt was transferred to Clara's name as part of the legal proceedings, and she would now face not only criminal charges but a massive civil suit from the bank. My parents, already financially strained, faced social ostracization. Their friends, seeing the video and the news coverage, started keeping their distance. The shame was palpable, and they had only themselves and their enabling to blame. As for me, I lost my family, but I regained my peace. The silence is deafening sometimes, especially on holidays. But it's a quiet, clean silence, free from the constant anxiety of Clara's next crisis or my father's judgment. I sold my apartment and bought the house I had always wanted, using the excellent credit score that I fought so hard to protect. I learned the hardest lesson of my life, that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to draw a firm, unyielding boundary, even if it means cutting out the people who are supposed to be your closest allies. Family is supposed to be a safety net, not a trap designed to steal your life savings. Clara is currently awaiting trial, facing years in prison, and the condo is up for auction. She called me from a blocked number once, screaming that I was the monster, the betrayer, but I just hung up. I have zero guilt. I did what was right, and justice, even when administered by the wronged brother, is still justice. So, that's my story. It's a messy, shocking, and deeply sad tale, but it's also a testament to standing up for yourself, no matter the cost. Never let anyone, not even the people who share your blood, make you feel guilty for demanding honesty and consequences. Your financial and emotional well-being are not negotiable. They are not alone. They are yours, and they are worth defending. Like this video if you were on my side, if you think I made the right choice, or if you've ever had to cut a toxic person out of your life, family or not. Subscribe for more stories like this, where real life dramas unfold with devastating consequences. Share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section. Tell me, was I justified? Let's talk about it. I'll see you all in the next story.